making it more difficult to...
The Supreme Court oral argument's available on our website at cspan.org. Going to leave the last few seconds for a briefing by the Council on American-Islamic Relations. The group has released its 2018 Civil Rights Report. It says the Trump administration's policies have increased anti-Muslim discrimination and violence.
Then we'll have some more explanation of the Civil Rights Report that we're releasing today from Gadeir Abbas, one of our litigation attorneys in our Civil Rights Department. Then we'll hear from the report's author, Zainab Arain. Then we'll hear from Lyndon Bilal of the Muslim American Veterans Association. So first of all, Nihad Awad, CAIR National Executive Director. And if you can spell your name, just to make sure.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nihad Awad, Nihad Awad, the National Executive Director of CAIR, the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Thank you very much for joining us today. First, I would like to express my deep appreciation to Zainab Arain, the author of this report, and her many colleagues at CAIR who helped put together this very, very important report. And a special thanks to our CAIR chapters nationwide who assisted by providing their data to give us a comprehensive look at the status of Muslim civil rights that were included in this report. Our vision is to be a leading advocate for justice and mutual understanding. We provide legal services and advocacy services free of charge for the Muslim community and anyone who believes that they have been targeted because of their religious freedom. American religious freedoms are some of the best in the world, and they have to be protected to remain so. And that's why today we call on the Supreme Court to ensure that religious liberties are granted for American Muslims, and we urge them to strike down the unconstitutional Muslim ban. There's a hearing on Wednesday, April 25th. Many of us in the civil rights communities will be rallying there, and we wish that our attorneys and the attorneys who are representing many Muslims will prevail in this hearing. The Supreme Court has to assure American Muslims and the world that religious liberties that have been the foundation of this nation will continue to be so by protecting them in the next hearing. We are here today to talk about the Civil Rights Report. The Civil Rights Report is unique in its nature. It is the only report that an American Muslim organization puts together to give an idea about the status of Muslim civil rights in the United States. They talk about hard figures and also stories of how American Muslims feel and how they are treated because of their faith. In the past 2 years, since the Trump administration conducted its campaign for the presidency, through the presidency itself, American Muslims have been singled out, and this administration has employed white supremacist ideology to target and single out a religious minority, that is the Muslim community. And this report tells the story of this targeting. We see it in the increase of the number of hate crimes, the number of discrimination against Muslims. The report talks about 17% increase in anti-Muslim acts of discrimination nationwide. Zainab will talk more about this. 15% increase in hate crimes. 35% increase in the cases has been due to the cases instigated by federal agencies. And this is unique because it shows that the government has been targeting the Muslim community and has been using its law enforcement agencies to single out American Muslims. And that's why we are very concerned that religious liberty is at stake in the United States today. And the Muslim community has to be assured that this administration will not take or be given a free hand to single out and target Muslims because of their faith. Fortunately, we have independent judiciary. And that's the opportunity for the courts to assure American Muslims that unconstitutional practices by this administration or other agencies, or discrimination against Muslims in the workplace, or the hate crimes that have been targeting Muslim families and children, will not be tolerated. And American Muslims need to hear from the courts that if this administration continues with these practices, the court system will ensure religious freedom for American Muslims and all Americans. So we call on all our partners in the civil liberties organizations and communities, on legislatures nationwide, to assure that religious freedom is protected for all, including American Muslims. And we are giving a message also to our communities nationwide. CAIR has its back. It's your back. And CAIR will defend your rights. We have employed more than 20 full-time attorneys in the past 2 years in anticipation to what we are seeing today. So our message to Muslim children in schools: be proud of who you are. Don't give up your faith. If you are bullied, report it to your families and talk to CAIR. Don't allow this administration or bullying to prevail. And we are here to help you. We are here to protect you. And we would like our Muslim community to continue to be engaged. This administration's purpose is to isolate you, is to stigmatize you. And this will not be tolerated. We are together. Because I feel that this administration has stigmatized my faith, my Islamic faith, I sued Donald Trump in the anti-Muslim ban, a lawsuit. So I am very proud to stand up for my rights, but I'm standing also up for the best values that this country has given all of us, which is religious freedom. So my message to our Muslim families and children nationwide: don't give up, don't hide your faith, be proud, and come forward, be engaged, and the stigmatization of Islam by this administration will fail. So I will turn it back to Ibrahim. But let me just say this. This report, it's called Targeted. This is an indictment of this administration because it has singled out the Muslim community because of its faith. And this should be rejected by all Americans, but above all, should be rejected by the courts, including and above all the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court judges have a golden opportunity to assure Muslims and the world that Muslims are here to stay and Muslims' rights are protected. Thank you.
We have our speakers here today, but we also have in the audience groups in support. We here today in the audience is Gujari Singh, Media and Communications Manager for the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and Kat Copeland, Senior Communications Manager for the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding. Now we'll hear from Gadeir Abbas, an attorney in CAIR's National Civil Rights Department, to give a little more background and context to the report.
Gadeir, G-A-D-E-I-R, and the last name is Abbas, A-B-B-A-S. This report indicates that the Muslim ban has succeeded in its purpose of creating additional anti-Muslim sentiment in the United States. The Muslim ban's purpose was to foment animosity towards Islam and towards Muslims, and that is exactly what it has done. This report lays out in clear detail with numbers that there has been an increase in anti-Muslim incidents. There's been an increase in anti-Muslim hate crimes. It's not just the volume of anti-Muslim incidents that have increased. It's also their character. Anti-Muslim incidents throughout the United States have regularly referred to the exclusion of Muslims and the arrival of the Trump administration as encouraging signs in those that seek to marginalize Muslims and demonize Islam. Thankfully, unpopular religious groups in America, communities of Mormons, Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, Jews, and yes, Muslims, have all relied upon the uniquely expansive religious liberties that are protected by the First Amendment. The Supreme Court this week will hear arguments in a case that is really a first of its kind. The president has wielded his authority in a way that's aimed at, calibrated towards, demonizing Islam and stigmatizing Muslims. And is there any doubt? Does anybody question that the desire of the Trump administration to create some type of law that excludes Muslims from America was based in the animosity that this Trump administration reminds us of frequently? The Supreme Court later this week will have the opportunity to stand where other Supreme Courts have stood before, on the side of religious liberty and to ensure that the Muslim community is able to practice its faith without fear that the President of the United States will seek to use his authority to stigmatize our community.
Thank you. Now we'll hear some details of the content of the report from Zainab Arain in our Islamophobia department.
Thank you, Gadeir, and good morning, everyone. My name is Zainab Arain, Z-A-I-N-A-B-A-R-A-I-N. Before going into the key findings, I would like to thank all of those whose hard work enabled this report. Today, we are releasing CAIR's 2018 Civil Rights Report titled Targeted. Several CAIR offices across the nation will also be releasing the findings of this report today. CAIR's 2018 Civil Rights Report provides evidence that the Trump administration's efforts to ban Muslims has stigmatized American Muslims and resulted in more anti-Muslim hate and violence across the country. The Supreme Court of the United States is trying to see if there is evidence that the Muslim ban contributed to animus towards Muslims. We are here to highlight this evidence found in CAIR's 2018 Civil Rights Report. The Supreme Court must strike down the unconstitutional Muslim ban. It must send the message that the promise of the Constitution will remain true for future generations. Never before in our nation's history have reported anti-Muslim hate crimes been as high in number as in 2017. Throughout 2017, CAIR offices nationwide received almost daily reports of incidents targeting an American who is Muslim or perceived to be Muslim. Dozens of Americans were shot, severely beaten, or killed. In most hate incidents, the perpetrators expressed the same anti-Muslim slurs repeated daily in mainstream media headlines and often by candidates and politicians. In the report, the section titled Invoking Trump, Provoking Fear, the Unprecedented Nature of the 45th President as a Symbol of Hate, we see evidence that the 45th President's brazen display of animosity and prejudice has emboldened those seeking to express their bias and made the very word Trump an encapsulating and potent symbol of wide-ranging racial and religious animus. Both adults and children have begun to use Trump to taunt and harass strangers, colleagues, and classmates. An American Muslim child was insulted with a slur at school and told that Trump was going to kick out the terrorists like him because all they did was bomb. Vandals spray-painted Trump #1, Whites Only USA, and Whites #1 on benches and a fence surrounding Salem State University baseball field. Let that sink in. People are invoking the name of a sitting American president, the highest executive office in the nation, as a symbol of hatred and prejudice to inspire fear in racial and religious minorities. This is unprecedented in American history. Multiple sections of this report provide metrics and data showing the increase in anti-Muslim sentiment caused by the unconstitutional Muslim ban. Here are the key findings of our 2018 Civil Rights Report. 1. Islamophobic bias continues its trend toward increasing violence. In 2017, CAIR recorded a 17% increase in anti-Muslim bias incidents over 2016. In the same time period, We noted a 15% increase in hate crimes targeting American Muslims, including children, youth, and families. 2. Federal government agencies instigated the single greatest number of anti-Muslim bias incidents at 919. This is 35% of the total number of bias incidents recorded by CAIR in 2017, and it is a 70% increase as compared to the number of government agency instigated incidents in 2016. Of these, we documented that 464 were related to the anti-Muslim Muslim ban. 3. The most frequent types of instances documented by CAIR in 2017 involved harassment, which is defined as a non-violent or non-threatening bias incident, CBP, which is Customs and Border Protection, hate crimes, FBI, and employment discrimination. 4. The most prevalent triggers of anti-Muslim bias incidents documented by CAIR in 2017 were the victim's perceived national origin or ethnicity, a headscarf, the unconstitutional Muslim ban, and everyday activities. 5. The most common locations of anti-Muslim bias incidents documented by CAIR in 2017 were at an air, bus, or train terminal, a place of residence, a commercial building, a school, and highways and streets. As you can see, American Muslims are being targeted in ever-increasing numbers. It is critical that the freedom to practice religion, as it is enshrined in our Constitution, is protected. And for that, the Supreme Court must strike down the unconstitutional Muslim ban. Thank you.
And finally, we'll hear some further context from a member and leader in our community, Brother Lyndon Bilal with the Muslim American Veterans Association.
Good morning. My name is Lyndon Bilal, spelled Lyndon, last name Bilal, pronounced Bilal, and I am the National Commander of the Muslim American Veterans Association. Many of you all may have never heard of our association. Some of you may have, but we began over 20 years ago here in Washington, D.C. Our founder was a POW in the Korean War, and I'm here today to give my support to what CAIR is doing to prevent this ban and prejudice against Muslims, because myself, being a member of the United States military and now the commander of a veterans organization, I understand the need to have good camaraderie among the military members and the veterans. And we know we have several members in our military that are not necessarily born in the United States, and there are at least today over 8,000 Muslims registered as Muslims in the military. And overseas, we would like to make sure that those serving overseas, loyalty for our country, that they are not being discriminated against because of the policies that are in effect now by our government that targets Muslims unfairly, unconstitutionally. And I don't think it was a well thought out policy, because Muslims have served this country loyalty and with loyalty from the beginning of its founding. And we definitely will continue that service and striving to make America better and keep it great. Thank you. Thanks.
That's all we have then in terms of speakers. If anyone has any questions. If not, well, thank you all for coming, and thank you again.
Easing your way back into yeah.
And I was like, that's not right.
Yeah. That's your first one.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
I've been trying to get me about issues. And she would just like, she was going to recycle it. They had to tell those and stuff like this never been used. And so eventually she was just like, well, the data we today, not like the day. And she was like, we're just going to take it. I was like, okay, I'll take
And do you guys all the numbers that you collect?
This afternoon, the